So you're not here to hear me speak tonight. We're here to celebrate again this opening, to meet Mr. Clinton and look at some of the beautiful art that's on display right behind us in our new branch, the 7th of our retail branches, first in Montgomery County. But just quickly, a lot of people know us as a community bank, which we are, but we are broader than just that. We're a financial institution that has at its forefront the community bank. We also have a community development corporation that focuses on impact projects and technical assistance. We're a CDE, community development entity, for a conduit for new market tax credits, a federal program that gets underserved communities direct financial investments. And we're also have an asset management platform, Harbor Bank Shares Capital Corporation. So we are a very community-driven. You hear me say community again and again and again, because that's what we are at our core, a community bank. But it's glad to have everyone here. I want to turn this over to our president and CEO, John Lewis.
This branch here that you're seeing today is a long time coming. It's a long time coming because we've had a good concentration of our customers in this area, but it's a long time coming because Montgomery County and Silver Spring deserve the services that Harbor Bank provides. As Jerry mentioned, we are a community development financial institution. That is a certification that comes from the U.S. Treasury. It means that we provide a disproportionate amount of our services and products to low-income communities, targeted populations, and that is intended to ensure that people have equitable access to financial services and opportunity. That is at the core and the ethos of Harbor. That's why we founded. That's the work that we do. That's why we work with some of our other peers in the industry to make sure that people have opportunity. And that's what Harbor speaks for. That's what we stand for. We're excited for you to be here today because we believe in relationships as well. We hope that today is not the only day that you walk through this door and you see us in the branch. We want to see you again because we truly want to know you. Because knowing you lets us help you, it lets us advise you, it lets us connect with you, it lets us truly be part of our community. Rather than someone that's shown up and just does transactions and is distant. That is not what Harbor is. That is not the work that we do. So we want to be in these relationships. So I know some of you must have questions. Say, okay, Harbor's open, a bank branch, bank, and George Clinton. So our dialogue, you will clearly understand how that goes together. Let me tell you this, because it is a part of what it means to understand community, a part of what it means to understand economic development and community development. You show me a city that doesn't have art, I'll show you a city that's not a city. Right? Artists bring life to communities. They catalyze communities. They make places attractive for people, right? And this isn't a new thing. If you go back to the Medicis and Florentine bankers, you know, they were patrons of Donatello and Michelangelo, right? If you look at some of the biggest banks in the country, Deutsche Bank has 55,000 pieces of art. JP Morgan and Bank of America have 30,000 pieces of art. Part of it is because we have so much wealth. But all that being said, when you talk about African American art, it's no different than other things where there isn't capital that flows to African American, right? It has always been important to this institution that we were doing our part to be patrons and supporting communities and community development. And art is part of what that looks like, right? And we believe very much that you find the anchors and the catalysts of people that are sowing into communities and you support it. So that's why Harbor Bank, George Clinton is today. And that's why you'll continue to see us engage in these communities, but also with a cultural understanding of what really drives these communities and supporting those things effectively. So I am standing up here when you really came to see and hear someone else, right? So I am introducing someone who needs no introduction. A recipient of a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, Lifetime Grammy Award, the incomparable George Clinton.
We were just here a couple of weeks ago on something called the Front Porch. And that was lit. That was like brand new. They forever coming up with something new around here. And so I'm glad to be here now in the name of art and a bank. Like you say, art and banks go together. It hasn't been for our people for the most part, but we getting ready to change that. So we got some more spaceships around and dogs, lots of babies.
So you mentioned the Chitlin circuit, right? And you know, we saw the Howard Theater in DC get investment.
Yeah, it used to be was the Royal?
The Royal Theater in
Baltimore, yeah,
right, which unfortunately has gone away, but there's a view towards bringing it back. And then you played a special role in keeping the Apollo alive. Could you talk about that?
Yeah. Back in 1980, they was getting ready to tear the Apollo down and put Wendy's or something up there, Burger King or somebody. And they said, no, that's the place we dreamed about playing all our life. So ourselves, we played there 3 weeks at the Apollo for free. Bob Marley played 1 week behind us, and James Brown played 1 week behind him. And we were able to keep the Apollo open, and to see it still there, kind of proud of that now.
Deserves applause. So shifting gear a little bit, you know, I know everybody here wants to hear about the band, right? And you know, one of the things that I think is incredible is that you had one of the biggest compilations of talent anywhere, on any stage, right? And I'm curious how you led that group of musicians and talented individuals. What were the challenges there?
Well, I don't even remember. All I knew, I had to do my part. You know, as long as I did my part, everybody else did their part, and we were all together. Okay. And it's been like that since 67. I started the group in 57, but we actually became Parliament-Funkadelic, which means there was 10 of us in 67. And from then on, you know, we added Bootsy and his brother and his group, his horns, and it just kept growing. We had female singers background in the studio, so when we got ready to go on the road, we couldn't leave them home. So next thing I know, we had 50 people in the band, 3 or 4 buses, and it just kept growing. And once we reached our peak, something came along called hip hop, and they was sampling music that enabled us to go even further, you know, as a sample. So we figured our only thing was make them part of the Mothership crew too. And so now it's bigger than ever. You know, it's the whole West Coast consider themselves on the Mothership. They named G instead of P, it didn't matter. Everybody can smell the funk. You know, but it's still growing. That's what I like about the fact, and I didn't try to guide it, I just follow it. Wherever it leads me, I'm down with it.
Okay. And is your group, you had a strategy to take over the world when you looked at the industry.
Oh,
right?
Put it like this, I grew up under Motown, and if you knew Motown, that was the most beautiful place in the world for all of the black musicians at one company. Everybody had pretty clothes, pretty wigs. It was the slickest thing around. And they had a hit record every week on another artist. The industry had decided they were not going to let that happen again. They took over the dance floor and wouldn't get off the dance floor. And so when we saw that they was trying to block it, we made it our mission to become one nation under a groove. All of the bands that we had worked together, we stayed together, and whoever else came out sampling us, we was part of that too. So that was how we kept it moving, and staying in touch with me. I picked the songs that get on my nerve, and I can tell that's the new shit. When the kids start getting on your nerve, you know that's the new one. You're getting old, so get out of the way. But as long as I acknowledge that, it gave me permission to stay around. I'm a cool old dude. So when I realized that's what it took, I was on everybody's job. As soon as they started looking like they had the funk, I'm down with them. Matter of fact, they were sampling songs so much, I put out an album, 5 albums, called Sample Some of This and Sample Some of That, which made it easier for them to sample it. I moved the voices out of the way, moved the horns out of the way, give them just the guitar, give them just the drum. I gave them all the pieces that they could sample, trying to forge camaraderie with the next generation. And the way you can tell it is when they get on your nerve, that's the new stuff. And I use that as the theme. I've been pretty all right with it ever since. I don't get chewed out for being too old doing it. And it's not, they say old school, but with pride. And so, and in doing that, I'm able to hang with them, they're able to hang with me. And so it keeps the whole thing going. And now that I've got grandkids, great-grandkids in the band, I got the other musician, Benny over there, the trumpet player, his son is a drummer. So we got 2 and 3 generations from the group itself that's still in it. That way it keeps us around forever, and that's how we look at it.
And so when young artists come to you these days for advice, what do you say to them?
It's your turn. I'm looking for advice from you. If what I done did is out there. The best thing I can say is do the best you can and funk it. And that's my theory on it. I fall in love with every new thing that happens now. I ain't got to worry about it putting me out of the job. So I'm actually at a point where I can actually enjoy new things. Like when Kendrick Lamar came out, he came to Tallahassee and we worked together. And it was like, my granddaughter said, "Granddad, you're gonna like him. He talks about that stuff you like to talk about." What is that? I didn't know, but he's inquisitive about life. And once I found out about him and what he was trying to do, I started preaching his thing. He's gonna be this, he's gonna be that. And it was like, oh, he's cool for now. Nah, he's gonna be here. And you can feel that when you open up to new stuff. You can see who's got what. And you work together and everybody profit from it.
So you talked a little bit about sampling, right? And you were at the forefront of the fight to get artists recognized and rights. Can you talk a little bit about that and where you think
the sampling?
Sampling.
Right? First of all, I knew that when it started, kids gonna make whatever their reality is. That's their world. So I know it's gonna work, so I can either be with them or not. So once I realized that's what it was, like I said, I made to sample some of this and some of that to make sure I was a part of it. But the sampling, the industry wasn't trying to make sure you got paid for it. The musicians that sample it, they're gonna take the money from them, but they ain't gonna give it to the writers. They ain't gonna give it to me or James Brown or whoever else. So you had to be careful that you didn't get into an argument with the people that were sampling, because kids, that's their world. That's their reality. They're gonna do that. So everybody else has got to get in line and figure out how to make it work. I was already accepting the fact that it's there, but the labels make you want to be enemies because they don't pay the writers. So now you got to argue with your friends and the people that you work with. I had to guide myself through that because I'm gonna get the money. I'm gonna make sure that the copyright recapture and all that take place. But at the same time, I got to make sure I don't fall out of friendship with everybody I work with. Because believe me, the big money will make sure you do fall out with them. That was the part that was the hardest to dance through. But I think I maintained well enough that most people trusted me past that point. And once they got past that, I'm all right now. We all together. Everybody's gonna get paid because now we snitching. I know the business. I've been here 50 years, so I can tell them what they need to do while they're doing it. And I feel proud because you've got more black millionaires and billionaires out of hip hop than you got out of anything. And that's like the last place you would expect it. You got more millionaires and billionaires in the world of hip hop. And nobody ain't paying no attention to trying to make it look bad with all the stories and things, but that's the reality. And so now that copyright recapture is a reality, we out here now trying to make sure that not only everybody that wrote with us, that didn't get paid, gets paid, and the new one that's coming out, let them know, because they got the internet, you can find anything out on that. You know, and that, what's called it, AI. That'll tell you anything you need to know. I mean, if you know how to do it and give it the information it needs to do for black folks, don't let it be judging everything by the information that it's got. We all got to get into it. Don't get scared of it. It's here, it's too late.
So you seem like you're surprised a little bit by AI. And we had a conversation before, and you call Chocolate City, painting the White House black. You called Barack Obama before he got to office, right? So
No,
you didn't see AI coming?
I had AI back then. I watched Star Trek. Star Trek had AI since 1961. Sparkle computer, blah, 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 blah. Right. And it answered. That was destined to be here. So I've been stealing from AI a long time. Hell no, I don't know all that stuff I was talking about. I read books and I listened to AI and all that kind of information. Futuristic, Star Trek, Star Wars. When we first put up the Mothership and went on tour for the first time, we got back to LA, Star Wars came out the first day. They invited 20 of us, the whole band, to see Star Wars, and we didn't know nothing about it. We was on the road, and then we got there and they were talking about motherships. And we said, wow, this is what we just recorded. We had no idea that we was on it like that. And I was in the capsules in Hampton, Virginia. They had one of the capsules, I was in that. They let me in what was called in Colorado, the big place with the big screen on the wall with the missiles, NORAD.
Okay.
They took the whole band in NORAD. We weren't supposed to be in there. But we didn't realize we was at that level. Our owner of the record company was a promotion man. He knew how to hype. And we got motherships, he knew about where to take us to all the different places. The mothership is in the Smithsonian now. But back then, we went everywhere because of that. We went all kind of promotion with the space things, the space of NASA. And like I said, we didn't know what we were doing. We were just making records. But after a while, I kind of realized that I must have tapped into something that was a little more than just making records. Because to me, Motown had did all the songs, the dancing and the love song. We had to make songs about the world and people. And from the 67, when, the hippies and all that started, we couldn't be the Temptations no more. We had to change up and become something new. So right away, they was flirting with funk. They was flirting with blues and rock and roll already. That was my mother's music, my father's music. Blues, they was, that was my grandparents' music. But I realized that's what was happening. I just went back and got went in their crates and got some of that, and they called it funk. I couldn't be Motown, we couldn't be the Temptation, Slick and everything, because they had done that. And by this time, hippies was changing it. It was jeans with holes in them. And this looked like, they done made being poor cool. Oh, I know how to be poor. We had the slickest hippie clothes there was. And all of a sudden we made that cool. And I'm jumping all over the place, y'all. I worked in a barber shop, so I knew what cool was. We had to fix the hairstyles to fit the clothes. So I was really down with what to wear, even when it was anti-cool. And that's what hippies was. It was anti-cool. But we made that cool. And all of a sudden I had a sheet with FU on it. And people thought that was the downest thing in the world. And I'm like laughing my ass off, I'm getting away with this. And then when that runs out, and it was time to get them spaceship, I knew you had to spend a lot of money if I'm gonna change from these diapers and towels and things. I got to do something real slick. So I got a $500,000 spaceship and $40,000 leather suits. They was only good for taking pictures. Because they tear them up when you try to work on them, But I knew that was the image, Broadway, not just being 5 singers up there doing routine, because that had played out. And I knew how we had laughed at the ink spots, who was the 30s and 40s. We thought they was corny and old. As we got to around 35, we started realizing we're approaching that. So we had to flip it again. So now it's the leather suits and the color hair came later. After I thought I had run out of things to do, then I realized, these little colored hair. I'm colorblind, so I didn't know how colorful it really was. I just looked like Barbie dolls or something. But putting it in my head after having worn a diaper, I know that was absurd. But people like the absurd. And we didn't want to be a group. We didn't want to be a singing group. We wanted to be a thing. We wanted to be like a play like Broadway, not just singing songs. We wanted to be more than that. And what it ended up being was Parliament-Funkadelic meant thing. On a spaceship, in diapers. All of those names are the things they use to try to describe us. But we tried to do as many different variations. So every generation come along, they could have something their parents would be talking to them. You should have seen them when they was this way. Or their big brothers, you should have seen them when they was doing this. I would run into Rakim, who's like one of my favorite rappers of all time. And he's telling me how his brother wore him out with P-Funk. You know what I'm saying? And so, and same with Too Short, all of them. I was so close to them as they was coming up, because I knew I had to be right with whatever the next generation is. That's what we was at. In LA, Cube, Dre, Snoop, they had a thing called Uncle Jam's Army when they was kids. That was the name of our album. We gave them, do that. Because once they make it, I'm coming in with that sample, some of this. Hey, brother, and that's the way it is. We're like that right now.
So you mentioned a lot of names.
I make sure that I can throw names, because I make sure I get close to them. If they doing it, I want to be able to say we was down there doing it with them.
I got you. So one of the names that you didn't mention was Prince, and you were on his label late in your career. You have any Prince stories for us?
Always a Prince story. Just so quiet, just big as he was just so quiet. And he was always wanting to do what we're doing now. He always wanted to pick my brain, as he called it. He wanted to pick my brain, and I'm like, you ain't gonna find nothing. but he was the new thing, and he liked Sly, he liked us. He had good taste, and he was very well versed in his craft, and he worked hard at it. That's the one thing. He would have you up at 7 o'clock in the morning rehearsing to 7 at night. And he did the whole show, routine and all. He was, and called me up, come over and sit with me. I said, you know, I'm up all night myself. I ain't got no time for that. Get your ass over here. Talk to me. And so I go over and we sit down and kick it. And but he was like really quiet, special. You know, I mean, he knew what he was doing. And he sent me a record called Cookie Jar. We had already made a song called Cookie Jar. I said, we already did this. He said, I want to do it again. And I said, okay. He sent it over to me, and the engineer, he sent it to put the tape on backwards and erased everything on there. I refused to go in the studio. I ain't got nothing to do with this. I wasn't there when he did it. So I called Prince and told him, I wasn't there. He said, I know. He's fired. But he was just such a quiet, nice person. And now also, I think I might have got him in trouble with the slave thing. I was telling him about the copyright recapture and that he should do it because he wasn't, they hadn't taken his stuff. And when I told him that, he moved quick and fired a lot of people. And I felt guilty, but I didn't mean to, because he wanted me to go out with him and go to the radio stations and protest. And I told him, I can't do that, I'm too old. I go out there, they're gonna kick me in my ass. So I come out there, they know I know better than that. You young enough, you can get away with it. So he went on and did the slave thing, got his masters back. But at the same time, I'm fighting right now that he's not here. I got to get him back from the company now, because the record company got mine that was with him, the one that I did for him. They forgot what he told me. He told me I could have my masters back. They're trying to renege on that. So now you'll hear all that stuff in a minute. We're gonna make a lot of noise in a minute. Because like I said, Ben Crump is our lawyer, and we've been working pretty hard on the copyright recaptures with a lot of other people, a lot of musicians that it's gonna come out pretty soon.
So talk to me about visual art. So you moved from the music to visual art. What was behind that?
Well, if you've seen any of our album covers, they was kind of interesting. You know what I'm saying? They was different. Pedro Bell, Ronald Edwards from DC here, Overton Lord, who live with me right now, let me do the spaceship out there. They were always, since they were like 15 years old, they was doing an album cover. Pedro was 17, I think. He did, Cosmic Slop was the first one he did. And he did all the Funkadelic albums after that. And Overton was right around in Detroit, and he's about the same age, all of them in the early 70s, Overton and Ronald Edwards. I was a fan of our album myself. I sat there and read that stuff for months and never see it all. It was just interesting. That became part of the P-Funk theme. The whole cosmology was the paintings, the pictures, the stories that we write in the album, and the songs themselves. All of it was part of it. So I became a fan of the album covers, doodling myself. So I used to just doodle my autograph. I draw a dog, 2 eyes and a nose and ears, and that was my autograph for years. So probably about 90, 99 or somewhere around. I was always doing the doodlings, but people started saying you ought to sell the art. What? I didn't think that shit was shit. But after a while, put it like this, I started remembering that in 80, Basquiat used to hang with us in New York at the Apollo when I told you we were saving the Apollo. Basquiat, that was their era. The graffiti, that had become really the thing. But I hadn't paid attention that it had become fine art. 2 years later, then I realized they was doing that shit on the subways and things. I didn't know it had become like reality. And so when I started doing it, and a friend of mine in Miami, Jonah, he was painting the whole city, Art Basel. So we go down there, and next thing I know, people actually thinking that the doodling was something special. So, oh yeah? Cool, I got a lot of doodles. And when the pandemic came on and everybody didn't have nothing to do, I had a bright idea. I'm doing pandemic art and talk about it. Matter of fact, my wife got me some little birdhouses and I painted them online. And next thing I know, CNN was calling me. Ari on NBC was calling me, talking about the art. And I said, well, I better get an art manager. So I got an art manager, and then we started mixing them together. I saw that it was crossing over. People would come to see us because they knew the music. And the only thing I had to do was, how do you intellectualize this shit? I don't know how to talk like that. And art seemed to me that's what it was. The ability to explain what you're doing, why you do it. I ain't never thought about why I was doing that. That was just something to do because I didn't have nothing else to do at first. But then when I realized that's the game, that's what I have to learn how to do. And I started sitting around and kicking it with guys like you, trying to figure, this is what you have to do to make it a reality. You got to intellectualize it, make it make sense. And okay, I'm learning that now, y'all.
So we've seen, folks start businesses on the side and grow into real businesses over time. I think, James Brown was famous for having a chicken restaurant, and radio stations, and you see a lot of artists now that will have everything from clothing lines to marketing, spirits and what have you. I guess, did you ever feel the need, or did you ever kind of stretch out and do something?
Well, we just now realizing that it's about branding, and and once we realize that you see 1,000 T-shirts now, P-Funk. We got shirts all over the place now. Now that we know that that's what it is, that's what it takes. I mean, people been doing that forever. We thought it was corny to wear our own shirt. Now I might wear two of them, one right behind the other, because that's part of the reality of getting paid nowadays. The record companies ain't paying you. So you got to try to brand yourself and get merch or commercials or all the things that go around the music. So no, we always thought it was too corny to hype and do all that, but that's the new world. When the internet came out, it's all about branding. People have their personal brands now. I mean, you can get on the internet and get rich with just your brand of clowning.
So let me do this. Why don't we take a couple questions from the audience? We'll start with Mr. Mitchell.
Thank you, John. George, and I say that affectionately because I was at the Capitol Center.
That's right.
So I feel like I know it like that. You mentioned the front porch, and so I just want to get your thoughts on front porch, that experience, and go and jump.
When I saw Front Porch last year, we tried to get, as soon as I saw it, I think they were just starting it. And I realized that's where the pump need to be. And it was getting cold, so we had to wait till this year to do it. We tried to do it in last year when they were doing it, but that's our type of gig. And that's with, and that's why we did the Go-Go song. We used to play with Chuck Brown back in the 60s, before they was calling it Go-Go. We was all doing the shows together, so we knew that's part of this whole area. So when I saw that Front Porch, it was a perfect place for us to reinvent something, with P-Funk doing Go-Go.
You had lost a step in.
Well, and I was ad-libbing the lethal lip. I was scared I was going to stop before I finished. But once I got going, I could see people going, yeah, you got it. So your ego make you keep going. When you see them smile from the audience, I felt I was killing it.
Much love to you.
So, and I think that's going to be a phenomenal venue.
Hi, I'm Brenda Seiler with the Washington Informer
I know you.
newspaper. It's good to see you again.
Good to see you.
We're a Black female-owned newspaper, 60 years old.
I know.
I'm glad you spoke about, I know how passionate you are about being paid for
Right.
Granddaughters.
No, she-
The granddaughters do a wonderful job for the foundation of speaking about that. And so now we're here today with the Target commercial that's playing,
I got to go make sure we get paid.
De La Soul doing sampling.
Yeah.
BD. And I was wondering who gets paid for it, because you've got De La Soul's voice. I'm not asking for an opinion about Target. I know people are still
No,
boycotting.
that was on the cool. That
Yeah, I
was,
figured it would be.
yeah, De La Soul, right, matter of fact, from the first day they recorded, me, myself, and I, they were the first ones to literally call us and pay us when their record came out. And all the way through the whole career, even as they changed members, they've been working with us ever since. This one, I saw the commercial, I'll make sure that we get paid, but I'm not scared of that one because it's them. I know it's pretty good taken care of.
Thank you very much.
See Tammy over there?
P-Funk, George Clinton. Tammy from Technical Investments. My question for you is, what is your favorite visual artist piece that you've done? And why is it special to you?
Well, they got that one a bit there.
For us collectors in the room,
Huh?
for us collectors in the room, what is your favorite visual artist piece that you've done and why? And remember, I addressed you as P-Funk, George Clinton.
I heard you. I'm not gonna try to name it because I'm not even sure. I haven't even thought of it.
All right, we know that we don't choose a favorite child, but what's one of your pieces that spoke to you and why? P-Funk.
That's hard. Because I'm in love with all of them.
I just dealt with that, just trying to drop down for you, like, tell us what one of the pieces that really spoke to you that can just like inspire us. I'm gonna sit there.
Okay. This is a cloak is in the closet. It's called cloak in the cloak in the clouds. Cloak in the clouds. That one would be, and
Does Harper Bank own that piece? Because I know they bought the pieces. Does Harper Bank own that piece?
no.
Okay, so why is that one of your pieces that speak to you?
We sold it for about $80,000.
They can afford that. John, you can afford it.
Enhancing development. Mr. Clinton, I saw your exhibit in Savannah's school.
Oh, you saw cloak in the clouds?
Yes, amazing. What I was amazed about is that you do fabrics, you do costumes, and you did graphic arts. Tell me about the transition from music to those different.
Well, the costume, I was getting up, my daughter did that. The costume, that particular one, but costumes was part of our cosmology. I didn't necessarily do them, but the stuff that I had made for the mothership and the suits for the girls, the brides, we included the costume as part of my vision, because that's what I wanted the vision to look like. So you got a lot of the costumes that were there. Like I said, my daughter did. She took my old costumes and put other stuff on top of it. We good at remixing stuff.
Any other questions from the audience?
Set it up.
That's a P-Funk, y'all.
That's it.
That's the real.
What up there, Tremano?
So, sir, just to say, I'm in my 50s, and your music has been the soundtrack of my life. And I that raised me and my brother and sister and kept us interested even though it was funky, it was always a purpose about humanity, about how to treat each other, about, being uptight. So I felt like you were trying to tell us something this past 50 years. What are you trying to tell us?
Well, I think my intention was mainly to make people think. I never wanted to be like a preacher. I never wanted to take my word for something and then I changed my mind and not let you down the road. So I was always aware that I didn't want to preach nothing about beliefs or things. That's my business. But I really wanted to make people think, what if this or what if that? Because this possibly was that, just to make people think. I have no specific outcome. But I like to be like a lot of the stuff that I have to talk about. I wouldn't necessarily like that. That would be something for me to try to aspire to be.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, well, I want to thank first Mr. Clinton for coming out, sharing this. I think we can all say this is a night that we won't forget. Thank you for blessing us with your presence here.
Man.
Absolutely. And like I said, we want to be. Is another question?
Yes.
Okay. Sure.
Hello, Mr. Clinton. My name is Lori Ann Sales. I'm one of the council members here in Montgomery County. I serve on the Economic Development Committee. And having this Black Bank here in Montgomery County as an artist and thinking about creative rights and ownership, what are some takeaways or the significance of having this resource here in the community?
Well, it shows you that we're moving on up, as they say. And it gives you pride and energy to want to help and become a part of that. I'm trying to figure out right now, how do I put my money in this bank?
Right.
We can help you with that.
Yeah, but working together on all aspects of blackness, and people, period, but us right now, it helps us to come together to do it with each other, to patronize each other. That really helps a lot. If it ain't nothing but discussing what we're gonna do or what we could do. This is really good especially like I said, coming back around this area. This was always where if you got a record and it worked, up and down from New York, Philly, Baltimore, Washington, on down. That was a chitlin circuit. We used to work together. The jocks, the radio stations, we always worked together on that. So that's the way we think the banking, any black businesses, arts, but really art. Because we got a lot of art to be shown. They deliberately made sure that it didn't get into the system. That we got to make sure that it do now. That's big money.
There you have it. So thank you all for coming again. And I really want you all to continue to be here and visit us. We believe in relationships deeply here. Your businesses, your aspirations, your home ownership needs, your small business needs, your venture capital needs. They all matter to us. And it doesn't mean that the moment comes where you're actually ready to do whatever it is that you're doing and we get to know you, right? A good relationship starts well ahead of that. That starts when you're thinking about things. And we want to be the institution that you think of when you just have an idea and you need somebody to bounce it off of that you think can give you good advice and counsel. So again, we are thrilled to have you here with us today. We look forward to getting to know you all better and deepening the relationships that we have. It's been our pleasure to host you this evening. Thank you.